Dreamscape presents Evil Thoughts, Wicked Deeds by Kris Mohandie, Ph.D., with Brian Skoloff, narrated by the author. For my mother, Linda Merle Roberts, and father, Luc Francois Mohandie, no mere words will ever be enough to thank my loving parents for all they did for me and so many others as teachers and human beings. Prologue. It was 1988, and I was all of 24 years old. I was in my second-year internship half-time, and I was also moonlighting after hours at a private practice. At this point, I'd met a guy who dreamed of killing and was terrified of the images in his head. In retrospect, probably a budding sex killer who was trying to fight his images and urges. I'd interviewed a woman who had a genuine multiple personality disorder from years of horrifying sexual abuse, and recently met a tragic boy who set fires and acted out, who had been kept chained in a basement, fed dog food, and used by his father and all of his pedophile friends as an object until he was rescued. But most of my work was with normal people struggling with anxiety, failed relationships, and some school misbehavior. I received an intake sheet in my box at the private practice. Robert P. has an Uzi, will kill people if his court case doesn't go his way. I was to see him this very day, and I really didn't know quite what to think. The secretary buzzed me later that afternoon to let me know he had arrived. I went out to the waiting room and invited him into my comfortable outpatient office. He was about 40, married with 2 kids and highly educated. He had a nice house in a suburb and was working at a local tech firm. He proceeded to tell me his story. The company had some lucrative government defense contracts, and he had blown the whistle on some cost overrun issues, like $5,000 hammers or $1,000 toilet seats. At that point, he perceived he was retaliated against, and his employer made his life difficult and very stressful. So much so that Robert took a week of sick leave to regroup. He returned to work and started to obsess about it. Why should I have to use my sick time? This should be a workers' comp reimbursement. So he filed a workers' comp suit. All he wanted was his week of sick time back and to be left alone. His employer made a federal case out of it, and Robert went through the adversarial questioning of his truthfulness, the legitimacy of his claims, and so forth in the pretrial proceedings. His integrity was questioned. The case was going to a final hearing. The stress had been so much for Robert that he wasn't eating, wasn't sleeping, and was infuriated. How dare they? He decided what he was going to do. He made a list of all the people who had betrayed him, dirtied his image, and in his words, destroyed him. He then sought and purchased an Uzi on the black market, with a ton of ammunition. He told me that...
Sample complete. Ready to continue?